Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Sussex Champions, the podcast where we cut through royal gossip, Hollywood spin and tabloid theatrics to ask one simple question. Who's actually telling the truth here, and who's just selling clicks? I'm Mark, your host, and today we're diving into Sundance, Sussexes, and a documentary about Girl Scout cookies that somehow turned into a supposed referendum on Prince Harry's entire existence in Hollywood. Yes, really. Grab your metaphorical thin mints because this one gets ridiculous fast. One of the funniest and honestly most telling things about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's Sundance appearance is this. Cookie Queens is very obviously Meghan Markle's project. Yes, both Meghan and Harry are listed as executive producers through Archewell Productions. Yes, they attended the premieres together. Yes, Harry showed up, supported, smiled, and did the thing supportive spouses do. But let's be crystal clear. The director approached Meghan, not the Sussexes. Meghan was the Girl Scout. Meghan handled the press. Meghan spoke at the screening. Meghan is the connective tissue of this story. This is her lane. Women, community, cultural rituals, and the overlooked labour that fuels massive industries. Cookie Queens fits neatly into that through line. So naturally, Page 6 decided this documentary is actually about Prince Harry's last chance at redemption. Of course they did. Enter Page 6 Hollywood with yet another exclusive, dripping in concern and anonymous sourcing. According to them, Harry and Meghan arrived in Park City looking sombre, guarded, and apparently emotionally consumed by checks notes, Harry's Daily Mail trial. Because, yes, that's exactly what someone would choose to discuss at a Sundance premiere, in a room full of entertainment journalists, some of whom work for Murdoch-adjacent outlets. Sure, makes total sense. We're told Harry only wanted to talk about the trial. A Sussex staffer was allegedly job hunting at Sundance. Archewell is supposedly a skeleton crew. And this documentary is framed as a make-or-break moment, not just for the Sussexes, but specifically for Harry. It's the same script we've seen for years. Rinse, repeat, publish. Page 6 then takes us on a nostalgic stroll down memory lane. Once upon a time, Harry and Meghan had a big Netflix deal, Ted Sarandos on speed dial, a full executive team, and Hollywood at their feet. Now, the deal is only first look. Some executives have moved on, and suddenly that's framed as failure instead of extremely normal industry behaviour. Here's what gets conveniently ignored. First look deals are still major deals. Executive turnover is standard in production companies, and Archewell still has multiple projects in development. But nuance doesn't trend. Panic does. Now, here's where the Page 6 story accidentally torpedoes its own thesis. Because right after declaring Cookie Queens a desperate last stand, they admit multiple buyers are circling Netflix and HBO are reportedly interested. Top sellers like WME and Submarine are fielding bids, and the Girl Scout cookie industry pulls in around $800 million a year. So let me get this straight. This documentary is a last chance with multiple bidders in a depressed indie market. At a festival that might suddenly be a seller's market. That's not failure, that's leverage. We also get delightful details meant to feel ominous, but aren't. The after-party was non-alcoholic, mocktails only, but boxes of thin mints and trefoils were flying out the door like contraband. Industry execs stuffing cookies into their coats is not the sign of a doomed project. It's the sign of people having fun and paying attention. If anything, it reinforces the theme of the documentary itself. These cookies matter more than people realize. Let's address the two biggest claims head-on. 1. Harry wouldn't voluntarily talk about his mail trial at Sundance. More likely? Reporters asked him. He declined. End of story. 2. The idea that Archewell is collapsing doesn't line up with reality. Yes, there's been turnover. Yes, Meredith Maines has departed. But there are still staff, still projects, still momentum. And that's where this starts to feel strategic. When there's a perceived comms gap, outlets rush in. When Meghan re-engages Sunshine Sachs, the tone will likely shift again. This isn't about facts, it's about timing. Here's the part that keeps getting buried. Cookie Queens is selling, Sundance buyers are optimistic. Meghan is quietly building a producing resume. And Harry is done supporting his wife and continuing his legal battles separately. But that story doesn't feed the fallen prince narrative. So instead we get, funny how that works. Cookie Queens isn't a referendum on Prince Harry's worth in Hollywood. It's not a Hail Mary. It's not a redemption arc. It's a documentary about power, tradition, money and women, told through cookies. And if that makes some people uncomfortable, maybe that's the real reason for the noise. Thanks for listening to Sussex Champions. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe, share, and come back next time. Because if the Sussexes do anything in public, you can be sure someone will try to turn it into a crisis. Until then, stay curious, stay skeptical, and don't fall for the clickbait.